Greetings from Tokyo, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and I very much hope that this video finds you well and in very good spirits wherever you are in the world. Right now where I am, it is the 16th of December, 2021. A few hours ago, or maybe several hours ago, I should say, the Criterion Collection on its website made its usual announcement with regard to future titles that the Criterion Collection plans to release. This time, it made its announcement with regard to those titles that it plans to release in March of 2022. If you want more information about what those titles are, what they are about, brief descriptions about the plot or story, you can check out the Criterion Collection website directly for more information. Also included in that check, you can also see, for example, planned cover art designs, technical specifications about the presentation, specifications about the planned special features to be included, etc., etc. So if you haven't checked out the Criterion Collection website directly, I strongly encourage you to do so. It is really very helpful. You can check out those and, of course, other titles and other information while you're there. But the topic of discussion today is our general impressions, our reactions to this March 2022 title announcement. And so let us just go through these and share our initial impressions. Now, of course, as with everything, our initial impressions or my initial impressions might change over time, or maybe I might get certain details incorrect or inaccurately state such details, in which case I'll try to correct myself, or I'll try to maybe add upon or change my own impression or view when the actual item arrives, etc. So when it happens in March 2022. So, but that's just to say, therefore, these are just initial impressions based on what the announcement was a few hours ago. So let us go through what the Criterion Collection has to offer, at least according to the website as of today. So there are, counting here, it looks like there are 5 titles planned for March 2022, or release in March 2022. And so let's look at what they are on offer here. The first title here that is listed is scheduled for release March 8th, 2022. And this is scheduled for spine number 1115. This is a film from 1975, and the director is Marta Mesarosh, and the name of the film in English is Adoption. So this is the 1975 work, and it's being offered here from Criterion on a 1-disc Blu-ray or a, let's see, it says at the moment it says discs DVD. I think that might be a little typo on the website here, but I think that's meant to say 1-disc DVD. So you have the option of 1-disc Blu-ray or 1-disc DVD as far as the physical media format itself. This is a very, I think, welcome title in the collection. Now, I've only been able to catch up with this film somewhat recently, thanks to other labels' releases of this film. And in fact, I should say that I'm very happy to say that apart from this upcoming Criterion release, this film is actually already made available through other non-Criterion label options, and also I understand that one can catch up with it on, say, certain streaming possibilities as well. So it's wonderful to say that this film is, in fact, I think readily available already as is. So if you haven't seen it yet, and if you are interested as to what it might be about and what the subject matter is and what the approach and style is, I can strongly encourage you to check it out now. I'm not at all an expert when it comes to this or any film at all. And in fact, I've seen this film only a limited number of times, again, fairly recently. However, based on those limited viewings of this film, I can say that for me, it has this real striking resonance about a kind of directness about it that is very memorable and very almost, it has this maybe feeling of maybe directness and relevance that I think has this, again, I love this blend of what one might call a sort of contextualized discussion of these various matters or issues as set in the context of this particular drama of these characters, these women in particular, on the one hand, and then we have the universality of those discussions or those points that I think create a sense of relatability upon the viewership, even many years after its initial release in 1975. And so that is I'm trying to be as vague as possible here because I'm trying to save some of the comments for maybe a discussion down the road when the actual Criterion Collection release arrives. But that is my way of saying, generally speaking, that it is a very, I think, it made quite an impression upon me when I saw it those numbers of times. And so with my limited knowledge of Mészáros and also this period of cinema, and also my very limited knowledge of the cinema of Hungary, especially, or in particular, Hungary cinema from the 1970s, still, my general impressions, I think, are very positive of this film, and it's very resonant and powerful work. And so I look forward to getting this particular Criterion release when it arrives again in March next year. And let's see how it stands, because as I say, there is some other physical media releases out there, so maybe we can, if it's possible, maybe we can do a comparison between what I have already versus this new Criterion release. But it looks like there might be some overlap with past release supplements, etc. But in any event, well, first of all, I should say that it says new 4K digital restoration as far as the presentation is concerned. But my hunch is that this is a restoration that has already been relied on in past releases. But we shall see when the actual Criterion Collection release occurs. I could be wrong, but that's my general hunch right now. And also there seems to be some overlap as far as what has been released before, but there also seems to be some other things here that are worthy of note that might make the Criterion Collection release definitely worthwhile. So I note here a short film inclusion by Mészáros, Blowball in English, as well as a new video essay that's included as well. So as well as different subtitle translation where applicable. So as I say, this is a film where I have limited experience, but I have seen the film based on recent other releases, and I must say that it is a very directly, I think, resonant and powerful work from Mészáros, and so I look forward to trying to learn more about it when this Criterion release arrives. But in any event, I think it's a very welcome release, something that I wasn't necessarily expecting, but I'm pleasantly and happily surprised by in terms of what is in store in March 2022. So once again, spy number 1115. This is the film from Marta Mészáros, and this is the work in English called Adoption. Next, scheduled for release March 15th, 2022, from filmmaker Jean-Pierre Melville from 1970. And this is at spy number 218. So this is a title that is, or was, I should say, this was a title that was in the Criterion Collection. But it then fell out of the Criterion Collection, but now it's back. And I should say it seems like it's back with a vengeance. And I'm talking about the title, which is Le CERCLE ROUGE. The CERCLE ROUGE from Jean-Pierre Melville. Wow, it's a welcome reemergence of this title, I must say. I'm a great fan of the works of Melville, and I must say in particular of this film, it is a type of cool crime drama with Alain Delon. So oh my goodness, I can't wait to be able to talk about this one. I can't claim to have any great expertise when it comes to this film, but I will try to address how it is I feel about it when that title arrives in the mail in March of next year. I should point out that there were the past releases in the Criterion Collection that used to be there. So there used to be the earlier DVD release, which is right here, the double disc DVD release. And then there used to be this Blu-ray, single disc Blu-ray release, which is right here. But now we have the title, and then it fell out of the collection, but now it is back. And now that it's back, I note on the site that it says 4K UHD plus Blu-ray combo format option of being available, 2 discs. So that is, as of now on the Criterion site, the only format choice available for this particular title in March of next year. So I must reiterate that as of now, there doesn't seem to be any format choice for, say, a single Blu-ray disc or a DVD-only option. As of now, there is only the 4K UHD plus Blu-ray combo option, which is SRP $49.95, but that's crossed out, and then in bold, on top of that, it says $34.96, at least as far as the Criterion Collection website indicates as of now. So, and it looks like it says new 4K restoration from Studio Canal of the uncut version of the film. And then it also has one 4K UH disc of the film presented in Dolby Vision HDR, and then one Blu-ray with the film in special features. And it seems like the special features are the same, maybe with a couple differences in terms of, say, special features that emerged that were included, say, in the earlier DVD release, galleries and stuff. I don't know if maybe they're not going to be carried over, but and then there's also maybe an issue about how many trailers they're going to be. But those are, I think, very minor points that one can check when the particular release arrives, and that might also give us an opportunity to look back on the prior releases from Criterion and see what remains the same and what is different. And again, I think one of the main differences that is worthy of note is the format. Again, we have the 4K UHD plus Blu-ray combo format, and then UHD version presented with Dolby Vision HDR. So this is something very much to look forward to. I should point out too, maybe as a type of side note, but it's still relevant to the conversation of the CERCLE ROUGE, that as of now, the filming of this particular video that I'm making, I have not yet on this YouTube channel uploaded any discussion about any comments that I might have about the current 4K UHD releases from Criterion at the tail end of 2021. So I haven't yet spoken on this YouTube channel about, say, the release of Citizen Kane, Uncut Gems, Mulholland Drive, Menace to Society, etc. I haven't spoken about those yet, but let me just say now that those 4K UHD releases, I think, look and sound spectacular. And so if those are any indication, I think we are in for a real treat in March with this particular Melville title. So the CERCLE ROUGE, scheduled for release on the 4K UHD plus Blu-ray combo format, March 15th, 2022. Next, scheduled for release on March 22nd, 2022. And this is for spy number 1116. The film is from 1965, and it is from Robert Aldrich. The film is The Flight of the Phoenix. The Flight of the Phoenix, starring James Stewart and Richard Attenborough and Ernest Borgnine and others. This is really great. Now, this has been released on other labels. I make mention of the great team at Eureka Masters of Cinema. And so for those who are knowledgeable about that collection, you'll know what I'm talking about. But to have this now emerge in the Criterion Collection here, and it's purported to be based on a 2K digital restoration with binaural soundtrack, it'll be nice to see how it compares with, say, those other prior releases. And look forward to having that opportunity when this arrives in March next year. The film itself, I think, is one of these really grand, intense entertainments with wonderful performances in this rich setting that is setting forth this type of human drama that's also this action film, that's also this intense, almost maybe disaster survival film in many respects. And also in that context, the intensity and the scrutiny that is on display here really provides some great dynamics that bring forth this idea of trust or faith or belief and also a type of willingness and drive and earnestness, as well as not being sure, and the mysteries that are involved, as well as the dangers that are existing in this type of environment that these particular characters find themselves in all of a sudden, based on the circumstances of this particular voyage, as it were. So the Flight of the Phoenix, there's a lot going on here, and so I really find this to be a great, intense, grand entertainment with a lot in store for people who have yet to experience it. And so I hope that the Criterion Collection release affords you that great opportunity to explore it. And it looks like there are a number of it says new supplements, and so this will also be a nice point of, say, comparison with other prior releases when this arrives. And so just to give you that information, the artwork there too, take a look at the artwork on the Criterion website, this and other titles of course, but the artwork looks really fantastic, like James Stewart's face in particular in the center there, against the backdrop of the sky and the desert there, looks really fantastic. So very cinematically rendered, I would say. So the Flight of the Phoenix, this is another welcome addition, something that I wasn't necessarily anticipating or hearing about per se in any kind of rumor, but the fact that it is here, or it will arrive, as I say, next month, or I'm sorry, not next month, in March of next year, is welcome news indeed. This is a really exciting, intense film, and I can't wait to be able to talk about it with you next year. So again, March 22nd, 2022 for spine number 1116, The Flight of the Phoenix. I forgot to point out one thing about The Flight of the Phoenix release from Criterion, which is, according to the website, it indicates that the physical media format options are one disc Blu-ray only. And so there isn't any DVD option. There is no 4K UHD option as well, at least indicated as of now. The only physical media option that's indicated is the disc Blu-ray. Again, this is for The Flight of the Phoenix, scheduled for release March 22nd, spine number 1116. Next, scheduled for release on March 29th, 2022, and this is a film from 1978. The spine number designated is 1118, and this is the work from Martin Scorsese, and the name of the film is The Last Waltz. Wow. I should point out too that the physical media options indicated on the Criterion site are one disc Blu-ray or a 4K UHD plus Blu-ray combo. So here is another title that is going to be given the 4K UHD treatment pursuant to a Criterion release, this time in March 2022. Of this work, which is in many ways a type of a really important work from not just the 1970s output of the great filmmaker Martin Scorsese, but from the overall filmography of this artist, Martin Scorsese, in terms of the capturing of this particular moment in time, the way in which music is captured and expressed, and this idea of the performance of the band, and this sort of union between cinema and music. And I think Martin Scorsese has this very special place in the context of cinema and his own filmography. And this is one of those great examples during that particular great cinematic voyage of Scorsese. And so it's wonderful to have this particular film on display. I should point out, speaking of having this film available, and I mentioned too in passing the great people, the great works that's being done with Eureka Masters of Cinema. This title also was released in a great Masters of Cinema set some time back. And so I was very fortunate to be able to get this, for example. But now we have this Criterion release. So Criterion, another great title from the great master filmmaker Scorsese in the Criterion Collection. This time spine number 1118. And it's based upon, or purportedly based upon, a new 4K digital restoration with 5.1 surround DTS HD master audio. And then you have the 4K UHD version, because as I indicated, there is the 4K UHD option presented in Dolby Vision HDR. So this is shaping up to be potentially one of those great titles that will welcome us in the early months of 2022. I think this film is just electrifying. It is absolutely electrifying, and it's, as I say, it's this sort of time capsule, a magical moment in time feeling, atmosphere with the music. And there's also this idea of a passage of time in history, because this is a very important moment in the history of this particular group and this performance and the significance of that. And so, and then also just the feel and look and sound that we will, I anticipate, get when we have this particular option. Not just, again, the Blu-ray. The Blu-ray format is wonderful, don't get me wrong, but I must say that recently I have been very impressed with the 4K offerings from Criterion in terms of looks and sounds. And so if those past releases are any indication, then this is another title that we can look forward to in either format, I think. But anyone who is partial to the 4K format, I think this is something to look forward to as well, potentially anyway. And so when this title arrives, this will hopefully provide us with a great opportunity to discuss this. It looks like there seem to be a number of options, including commentary track options, I should say, that were existent in, as I say, prior releases, but we shall see how they compare. And again, if the opportunity affords itself, we can do a type of comparative analysis when the Criterion release arrives in March of next year. Once again, I'm so thrilled about this. I really think this was a real magical and special work that is very captivating, and it just shows the type of presence and the eyes and ears of the filmmaker. And so, as I say, it's sort of this magical moment captured on film forever, and here in these various formats and various offerings, including this particular release from the Criterion Collection. Again, scheduled for release March 29th, 2022, spine number 1118. You have the Blu-ray option or 4K UHD plus Blu-ray combo option. So one of those two options for you to choose from for the film The Last Waltz. Last, but certainly not least, scheduled for release, again, March 29th, 2022. And this is scheduled for spine number 1117. And this is being offered on a Blu-ray one-disc option only. And so we'll get to that momentarily. But I should mention the film. This is from 1997. And this is from Theodore Witcher. And the name of the work is Love Jones. Love Jones. This is really wonderful. I must say that I saw Love Jones on VHS rental, if I remember correctly, back in the day. I wasn't able, unfortunately, to watch it in the theater when it was released in the 90s. But I do remember its release, and I remember seeing some of the trailers, some of the marketing at the time. And I remember catching up with it on, as I say, VHS rental. And I was really taken with the film. It was lovely and splendid, and it was this wonderful type of romance drama story, which had some great chemistry with the characters and the performances, and great music, and just great feeling and vibe and atmosphere. Excuse me. And so, really lovely stuff. And but unfortunately, when I saw it back in the day, many years ago, when I was much younger than I am now. But then ever since, I haven't necessarily been keeping up with the film or catching up with the film. And so this is a very nice surprise, because this will, as I say, afford me with that opportunity to revisit the film after many years have passed. And I'm very excited by that. As I say, if I remember my feelings back in the day upon watching it, and they were just, it had this wonderful atmosphere to it. And so I would assume that those feelings will hold, or maybe will have developed further. But in any event, I'm looking forward to seeing what that reaction will be, how I will feel about the film when I indeed revisit it upon its arrival in the early months of next year. Love Jones from Theodore Witcher. Really wonderful stuff. So, and it came in that period, for those who were around at the time, it came in that period of film in the 90s, where you had this wonderful type of almost movement of American independent film and cinema, and all these voices came up and emerged, and there was this type of sort of excitement in this wonderful blending of say commercial interests and well as artistic interests as well, and I think this film is part of that conversation very much so, as well as being a really captivating story, or a set of stories I should say. So I'm looking forward to this immensely, and it looks too like there will be a number of supplements here. Now I don't know, I admit I'm not familiar at all with the subsequent release history of this film on physical media, except for that VHS tape that I remember watching the film on. But apart from that, I'm not sure about how this figures in. But in any event, this is, as I indicated, my way of being able to catch up with the film after these many years, including the supplements that are on offer from this Criterion release. And there looks like to be a number of really great ones. As well as this film, the release being purported to be based on a new 4K digital restoration supervised by director Witcher himself. So this is really, I'm very, very thrilled by this. Again, a wonderful opportunity to revisit something that I haven't seen in quite a long time. So there are many details that I'm trying to think back now, and I don't recall offhand, which is one of my many failings, but I will try to remember as much as I can prior to this, and maybe during the film watch. And so I'm really looking forward to this. This is, oh my goodness, this is really, it's bringing back memories of those times for me as well. So that era of cinema going and cinema watching, again, for me, which was many, many years ago. So, and I should point out too that the Criterion release indicates Blu-ray disc release option only. So there's no 4K option, there's no DVD only option here. So we've seen in the other announcement titles, we've seen similar type, well, not similar, we've seen the ways in which maybe some formats are being offered whereas others aren't, etc. So here for this title, Love Jones, Blu-ray only, at least as of now, according to the website. So again, if that's relevant to you specifically in your situation, just keep that in mind. But in any event, we have March 29th, 2022, spine number 1117, this film, Love Jones. I'm looking forward to this very much. And so that, my friends, concludes my general impressions or remarks or comments on this particular grouping of titles. Again, my comments are very, very shallow, very, very maybe not very deep at all. So I apologize. And I might have made a number of errors along the way, and so I apologize for that as well. But these are just my general impressions. They could change upon the actual arrival of these titles in March of next year. So I look forward to those opportunities to explore these titles and learn more about them when the opportunities present themselves, of course. And I should point out too that there are a number of things that are, I think, worth noting, at least from my vantage point. So first of all, we do have, as I say, a number of titles that are employing the 4K format. And as I've indicated before, I have not yet uploaded any videos as of now anyway. I plan to very soon, I hope, but not now. I haven't, as of yet, uploaded any specific discussions on the current 4K offerings from Criterion. But I can say right now, I have watched them, and they are, I was very taken with them in terms of how they sound and how they look. Maybe as an example, Uncut Gems, that release is, it looks spectacular and it sounds spectacular. I cannot wait to talk about that. So, but that's just my way of just saying very generally that if we're getting more 4K UHD offerings, I don't think it's a total must, because the Blu-ray format or the non-4K formats are still very much very strong in terms of their integrity, in terms of their look and presentation. The Blu-ray format in particular, I think, is very, very sturdy. It's very reliable indeed. So there's no need, I think, to upgrade per se if you haven't done so. And if you're happy with your current format options, I think that's fine. But I will say that for anyone who is into the 4K format, the offerings that have been occurring so far, I think, are really great. And if those are any indication, the offerings that are on deck, as it were, for March, Le Cercle Rouge and the last Waltz, excuse me, we, I think, can maybe anticipate some really exciting things indeed. So we are continuing, or we are seeing the continuation of Criterion's use of the 4K format. I should point out too also that these are titles, the 4K titles here, Le Cercle Rouge and The Last Waltz, these are titles that were not initially announced, and so now we're in that realm of new, fresh titles, 4K titles. We had seen that earlier, if you recall, earlier in the year. There were those core titles that would be in as the first slate, I think, as Criterion announced it. But Uncut Gems wasn't in that initial slate. That came a little bit later. That was a nice, pleasant surprise, by the way. But now we're getting new titles along the way. So now we're, maybe from here on out, we might be expecting some more titles using this format. And also, I should say, too, speaking of the other format options, these titles appear, or maybe not appear, I don't know, depending on your point of view. Maybe they're giving us clarity or not about what Criterion's viewpoint is on the other formats, in particular the DVD format. I should point out that for the other titles like The Flight of the Phoenix and Love Jones, according to the site, it's Blu-ray only, right? Adoption is Blu-ray or DVD. So at least for that title, there is the DVD option, but the DVD option doesn't seem to be made available for these other titles, at least as of now. So we can make of that as we like, but that might be or might not be an indication of what the DVD or the approach is of Criterion towards the DVD format going forward. Again, who knows? That's something we should keep in mind. But here is maybe some further indication or some further clue or hint if one wants to look at it in that way. But in any event, my friends, we have the options that are slightly different, the physical media options that are slightly different depending on what title one is talking about. So I strongly encourage you, if the physical media component is very is an important component for you, and I think for most, if not all of us, it is, please be sure in advance to confirm and check the format that you are seeking and that you're looking for, just in case, and before you press the buy button or before you make the purchase in store, as it were. Just be sure that you've got the format that you're looking for, or the format that best suits your particular needs as the end user consumer of these products from Criterion. And other labels too, for that matter. So that's something to keep in mind. And also, we will keep an eye out, as we will always try to do, on the state of the format handling from Criterion here going forward. But and then as far as the titles themselves, I'm very pleased with these titles. I should point out too the work adoption. I'm very much looking forward to further exploring and studying this, as well as the return of Le Cercle Rouge, as well as these titles. Love Jones, this will be a great maybe a rediscovery for me in a certain turn of phrase, as well as The Last Waltz and The Flight of the Phoenix. So wow, very exciting stuff. I will also make the observation that I think, taking into account January, February, and March's titles, 2022, so far there is no indication of a box set or collector's set per se. So, maybe will that come in the horizon? Maybe can we expect that soon? Who knows? Fingers crossed. If we go by past years' examples, maybe we can begin to expect something very soon. I don't know. Hopefully we can. In any event, if there is any news about the box sets, any box sets that happen in the future, in the near future, if luck would have it, then let us talk about that as well. But for now, individual releases. My goodness, what great individual releases we're getting here. And it's really cause for celebration and excitement indeed. Really wonderful stuff. Again, I will do my best to keep up with this news, as well as keep up with each of the releases as they arrive at my very slow pace. I apologize profusely for that, but It's just, again, Criterion, for me personally anyway, is a very important component of my own personal cinema journey in terms of discovery or rediscovery or evaluation and exploration or re-exploration, as the case may be. And even in the state of re-exploration or rediscovery, there are new discoveries to be had. And so that can be said for all the titles, I think, for March, for me personally. And let me just end that discussion with, in particular, the film like Love, Jones. Something that I've seen when I was much younger, but now I'm going to watch it again after many years have passed, but now from a perspective of someone who is somewhat older now. So it'll be interesting to see how that works, that type of play on time and experience, which is, I think, a key component of the cinema journey for me and maybe for you as well. So in any event, my friends, I look forward to sharing those experiences with you and hearing your own experiences as you and I go along together on these many discoveries along the way provided by Criterion and other places, of course. But here we have Criterion titles. So in that spirit, my friends, what do you think? Please feel free to let me know in the comments section below. As always, I would love to hear what it is you have to say. You always teach me and you always give me pointers and tips, as well as indicating to me some things I should maybe look up more about or study up more on, etc. So you always teach me and guide me, and for that I am so grateful, and I will continue to be grateful. And let us, you and I, continue our journeys together. So, my dear friends, that's it for now. And so until we meet again, please be happy and healthy and well, and please keep on watching a lot of great movies. Thank you so much, as always, for your time. I very much appreciate it. Stay strong, stay safe, and cheers.